But in recent months, it is here in Los Angeles where punk has taken on hardly harmless and distinctly violent proportions. A band from Hermosa Beach, California called Black Flag has earned a reputation as a group with a particularly violent following.
Scars, try to control. Rock the boat, we're gonna rock the boat. They distort what we say. Rock the boat, we're gonna rock the boat. Try to stop what we do. Rock the boat, we're gonna rock the boat. When they can't do the sound. Rock the boat, we're gonna rock the boat. Wait, a time of your abuse. Try to stop us. There's no use.
The year is 1976, Hermosa Beach, California. A small band initially called Panic was created from the minds of Greg Ginn and Keith Morris. After some reworkings with the logo by Raymond Pettibon, the new title came to be what we know today, Black Flag. Black Flag was one of the earliest hardcore punk bands around. They were a surge through the veins of Southern California and made sure to shake the entire body of music altogether. However, just calling them a punk band wouldn't give this dingy group the right classification. Often, the group never wanted to stick with just one sound. They wanted to push with what the new-found genre of punk could really be. This would be a problem due to the simple fact that punk fans are the worst fans to have. Where the musicians had their own ideas and creative thoughts, the fans simply followed and chastised all that didn't follow under the seemingly obligatory rules of what punk had to sound like. Albeit the fans were actually pretty good during the early years of the genre. But to ignore what they became is a fallacy. More into that later. The band started in 1976, but they never hit that close to the sky. While their music was different and definitely pulsating, they only ever gained cult status. That isn't to say they didn't try. With Raymond Pettibon being the brother of Greg Ginn, he was more than willing to lend a hand with his artistic abilities to get around word of shows they'd be doing in the area. Raymond was a big part in helping Black Flag distinguish a style of their own with his artwork. The flyers he drew for the band were nothing less than haunting, with depictions of women fighting and the mentally ill throwing objects to a depiction of Charles Manson on the cross. As well with the promotional art for local shows that would be held, he also went on to create the albums that would be released through their time during the early to mid-80s, right as the band broke up. As the band was building up a bigger following during 1981, they faced a bit of a problem. Their then lead singer, Ron Reyes, had resigned the position due to throat troubles, and so for a while, the band would just allow patrons of the event to come on stage and sing a few songs at a time. It would lead to them finding their new singer. Henry was a young, 20-something-year-old man who lived in Washington, D.C. After a failed attempt at working with a short-lived band known as State of Alert, he succumbed to a minimum-wage job as a managerial position at a local Haagen-Dazs. After catching wind of a concert for his favorite band, Black Flag, playing in a state or so over, he drove 5 hours to attend it. Nearing the time Henry would have to leave to make it for a 7-hour shift he had at the ice cream store, Henry requested that the next song they could play would be Clocking In. To his surprise, not only did they go with the song, they offered him to sing it for them. It was a well-made match, to say the least. The next day, Henry had received a call from Greg Ginn, offering him a permanent position as a singer and stating the performance the night before worked as a sort of audition. Henry chose to go with them, and so they met with him, told him to pack light and hop in their van. With Henry on board, off led them going on to pushing themselves as hard as they could onto the public's radar. With the style of their music, not a lot of DJs or radio personalities in general would allow overly aggressive punk music, pretty much Black Flag paraphrased to a T, to flood over the airways since it wasn't very well accepted by the conservative execs who knew what would be in their eyes as problematic with the youth and people in general. So the band had to do their best to fight through the underground scene while still sticking to their guns with keeping things fresh and not folding to the simple process of selling out.
Thank you. This is Greg Ginn on the guitar. This is Brandon Perchmore on the drums. My name is Mike. Tyler Smith on the bass.